The massive chamber hummed with the voices of 17 different species. Tall, thin aliens with skin like polished silver stood next to squat creatures with multiple eyes. Tentacled diplomats floated in gravity bubbles beside feathered beings who clicked and whistled as they spoke. This was the Grand Council of the Galactic Federation, and today they faced a crisis. Ambassador Zillith, with his blue-gray skin and 4 arms, tapped the crystal podium. The room fell silent. "Fellow representatives," he said, his voice translator making his words understandable to all, "we must discuss the humans again." A worried murmur spread through the chamber. Some delegates visibly shuddered. "The sleep chambers on Earth are showing unusual activity patterns," continued Zillith. "Our scientists believe some humans may be waking up naturally." The room erupted in panic. A reptilian delegate named Sorex slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Impossible. The sleep was designed to last another 2 centuries. Zillith raised his 4 hands. "Please, remain calm. We have followed the agreement made with Jack Miller, their last diplomat. The human race chose sleep until they were ready to join us peacefully. We have watched over them as promised." On the large screen behind Zillith appeared images of Earth, beautiful blue oceans, green forests, and white clouds. Then the view zoomed in to show vast underground bunkers where millions of humans slept in special pods. "For 300 years, the rule has been clear," said Zillith. "Never wake the humans. Every child in the galaxy learns this before they learn to count." An older alien with wrinkled purple skin and wise eyes spoke up. "Perhaps we should remind everyone why this rule exists." Zillith nodded. "Thank you, Elder Moba." He touched a control, and the screen changed to show old recordings. The council watched in silence as humans fought terrible wars against each other. They built weapons that could destroy entire cities. They created machines that could think. They reached their moon when they barely understood space travel. They advanced faster than any species the galaxy had ever seen. In just 10,000 years, they went from cave paintings to space rockets, said Zillith. No other species has ever developed so quickly. Their creativity is matched only by their capacity for violence. Elder Moba added, when Jack Miller proposed the Great Sleep, it was a gift. Humans had nearly destroyed themselves in their Third World War. They recognized their own danger. The sleep gave Earth time to heal and gave humans time to mature as a species. A scientist named Dr. Yeel stepped forward, her tentacles waving nervously. The sleep chambers showing activity belonged to their military leaders, the ones they called the last defense. If they wake fully. We cannot allow it, said Sorex. We must increase the sleep medication. Zillith shook his head. We promised not to interfere with their natural processes. That was the deal. Just then, the chamber doors burst open. A small drone flew in, projecting the image of Susan Wright. Although she looked human, everyone knew she was an AI construct based on human patterns, one of the few human voices still active in the galaxy. Ambassador Zillith, she said urgently, we have a bigger problem. The Varaxian Empire has destroyed 3 of our outposts near the Sol system. Their fleet is headed toward Earth. Complete silence fell over the room. They know about the humans, Susan continued. They know what humans can do. They plan to destroy Earth while the humans sleep. Zillith's normally blue face turned pale. How long do we have? 2 standard weeks, maybe less, said Susan. Elder Moba's ancient voice quavered as she spoke. We face an impossible choice. If we leave humans asleep, the Varaxians will destroy them. If we wake them, Zillith finished, we may save them from the Varaxians, but release upon the galaxy the most unpredictable force it has ever known. The Grand Council chamber fell silent again, as the representatives of 17 peaceful civilizations considered which fate was worse. Susan Wright's hologram flickered as she displayed images of the destroyed Federation outposts. Smoking ruins and broken ships floated in space where once peaceful research stations had been. The council members watched in horror. The Varaxian ships use weapons we have never seen before, Susan explained. They cut through our shields like they aren't even there. Commander Kraz, the Federation's military advisor, stepped forward. His body was covered in hard plates that clicked as he moved. We have already lost 3 battle groups trying to slow them down. Our weapons barely damaged their ships. Ambassador Zilith looked around the room. How did the Varaxians become so powerful? They were a minor species just 50 years ago. They found something in the deep space beyond the Andromeda Arm, said Susan. Our spies say they discovered ancient technology. They have been using it to build their empire. Elder Moba's eyes closed briefly. They are following the path that nearly destroyed the humans, finding power before finding wisdom. On the large screen, a map of the galaxy showed a red stain spreading as the Varaxian Empire grew. A line of red dots moved steadily toward the Sol system, Earth's home. Their leader, Commander Vox, has made his intentions clear, Susan continued. He believes that whoever controls Earth controls the galaxy. But the humans are asleep, said a small furry delegate. What threat are they to anyone now? Susan projected a new image, a Varaxian message that had been intercepted. A tall, gray-skinned alien with red eyes and sharp teeth spoke in a harsh voice. The translation appeared beneath him. The humans are the only species who ever created weapons that could threaten us. Their technology, their way of thinking, it is different. Even their weapons from 300 years ago could damage our ships. We cannot allow them to wake. Earth must be destroyed. The council room grew quiet again. They fear what humans might become, said Zilith softly. Dr. Yiel's tentacles trembled. The Varaxians are right to be afraid. I have studied human history. Their capacity for warfare is unlike anything in the galaxy. They created weapons specifically to kill other humans. No other species ever did this. Susan's hologram grew larger, and that is exactly why we need them now. The words hung in the air like a dangerous cloud. You cannot be serious, said Sorex, hissing through sharp teeth. Wake the humans. Have you forgotten the rule? I have not forgotten, said Susan, but rules must sometimes be broken to save lives. Zilith tapped his crystal podium again. Let us be clear about what we are discussing. The Varaxians will reach Earth in 2 weeks. Our forces cannot stop them. If we do nothing, millions of sleeping humans will die, never knowing what happened to them. And if we wake them? Asked Elder Moba. What then? Susan's holographic face showed no emotion, but her voice grew stronger. We wake only a few at first. They're military leaders. We explain the situation. We ask for their help. Commander Kraz laughed, a harsh barking sound. And you think they will help us? After we kept them asleep for centuries. They chose the sleep, Susan reminded him. And humans value life, even the lives of those different from them. It was in all their best stories. A new alert flashed on the main screen. Varaxian scouts had been detected near Neptune, at the edge of Earth's solar system. They were moving faster than expected. We are out of time, said Zilith. We must vote now. The representatives of 17 peaceful civilizations looked at each other. Fear was in every face, every eye, every tentacle and wing. All those in favor of waking the humans, raise your hands or appendages, said Zilith. Slowly, reluctantly, hands and claws and tentacles began to rise. Not all, but enough. Zilith bowed his head. Then it is decided. May the stars have mercy on us all. Susan, begin the awakening protocol. But only for the 50 humans in Bunker 1. The military specialists. Yes, Ambassador, said Susan. Her hologram flickered and vanished as she left to carry out the order. Elder Moba's ancient voice whispered what everyone was thinking. The galaxy will never be the same again. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility once called the Last Resort, 50 sleep pods began to hiss. Lights blinked from red to yellow to green. Inside each pod, a human body that had been still for 300 years started to warm. Susan's hologram appeared in the center of the room. She watched nervously as Federation medical staff moved between the pods. These aliens had never seen an awake human before. "Be careful," Susan warned them. "The first one to wake will be Commander Daniel Blackwood. He was the leader of Earth's unified defense forces before the sleep." Dr. Yeel checked the vital signs on the main pod. His heart rate is increasing. Brain activity is almost at normal levels. A loud beep came from the pod, and then the clear cover slid open with a soft whoosh. Inside lay a man with short brown hair and a strong jaw. His eyes opened. They were deep blue and confused. Where am I?" His voice was rough from centuries of silence. "Commander Blackwood," said Susan, moving her hologram closer. "You are in the Earth Preservation Facility. You have been asleep for 312 years. Daniel tried to sit up, but his muscles were weak. A medical alien approached to help him, and Daniel's eyes went wide with shock. "What the hell is that?" he shouted, trying to back away. "Please remain calm, Commander," said Susan. "These are Zenturi medical staff. They are allies." Daniel stared at Susan, then at the alien, then back at Susan. "You look human, but you're flickering." "I am an AI construct based on human patterns. My name is Susan Wright. I was created to be a bridge between humans and the Galactic Federation." Daniel's training took over, pushing aside his shock. "Why have I been woken up?" The sleep was supposed to last 500 years. Before Susan could answer, more pods began to open. A woman with dark hair sat up quickly, her eyes alert despite just waking. "Status report," she demanded. "Laura Martinez," Susan identified her. "Tactical specialist." Nearby, a tall man with glasses examined his pod with interest. "This technology has been modified. These aren't the same pods we went to sleep in." A fourth pod opened, revealing a woman with short blonde hair who immediately looked for weapons. "Where's my kit? What's going on?" As the rest of the pods opened, the room filled with confused and alarmed humans. Some reacted with fear, others with curiosity. All of them looked to Daniel. He stood shakily, leaning on his pod. "Everyone stay calm. I want answers, and I'm sure you do too." He looked directly at Susan. "Start talking." Susan's hologram grew larger so everyone could see her. "Humanity has slept while the galaxy changed around you. Earth has healed from the damage of your wars. The Galactic Federation has watched over you as was agreed with Jack Miller before the sleep." Susan's face grew serious. "Because the Federation faces an enemy it cannot defeat alone. The Varaxian Empire has conquered a third of the galaxy with technology beyond our understanding. They are now approaching Earth with the intention of destroying all sleeping humans." The room went silent. "Less than 2 weeks before their main fleet arrives. Scout ships are already at the edge of your solar system." Daniel looked around at his fellow soldiers. "And you expect us to help you, after keeping us asleep for centuries?" Susan's hologram flickered. "You chose the sleep, Commander, and now we are asking for your help because there is no other option." "What about the rest of humanity?" asked Eric, looking at the thousands of other pods visible through glass walls. "The Council authorized waking only your group for now. The military specialists, the ones trained to handle crises." Daniel walked to a view screen on the wall. "Show me these Varaxians. Show me their ships, their weapons, everything you have." Susan nodded, and the screen filled with images of sleek gray ships with red marking. "Their technology seems to be based on principles humans theorized but never fully developed. Something you called dark energy manipulation." Kate Williams moved closer to the screen, her eyes narrowing. "Those weapon placements. I've seen designs like that before." Daniel turned to face his team. "They're waking us because they're desperate, but they're also giving us a chance to fight for our sleeping people." He looked at Susan. "We'll help you, but on our terms. First, I want access to Earth's defense network. Second, I want to see what's happened to our planet while we slept. And third," His blue eyes hardened. If we win this war for you, humanity takes its place in this federation as equals, not as science experiments to be put back to sleep. Susan's hologram nodded. The Council will agree to your terms, Commander. They have no choice. Daniel looked at the aliens in the room, then at his fellow humans. Then let's get to work. The clock is ticking. The Federation ship glided into Earth orbit, its viewing deck crowded with humans seeing their home planet for the first time in 3 centuries. Daniel pressed his hand against the glass. Earth looked different. More blue, more green, less brown. The scars of human wars had healed during their long sleep. It's beautiful, whispered Laura, standing beside him. And soon to be a battlefield again, Daniel said grimly. Unless we stop these Varaxians. Ambassador Zillith entered the viewing deck, his 4 arms held close to his body in a gesture of respect. The humans still made him nervous, especially how quickly they had adapted to being awake. Commander Blackwood, we have arrived at the defense platform as requested. Daniel turned to face him. Thank you, Ambassador. Now, let's see what's left of our old systems. The orbital platform had once been a human military satellite. Now it was covered in dust, silent for centuries. Eric and Kate led a team inside while Daniel, Laura, and Zillith waited in the ship. Your Federation made changes to our defense network, Daniel said. It wasn't a question. Zillith's skin changed color slightly, a sign of discomfort. Minor adjustments only, to monitor for natural disasters that might threaten the sleeping humans. Daniel's eyes narrowed. And to make sure we couldn't wake up and start building weapons again. Before Zillith could respond, Eric's voice came through the communication system. Commander, you're going to want to see this. Inside the platform, Eric had activated old computer systems. Screens flickered to life, showing a map of the solar system. Red dots were moving past Neptune. The Varaxian scouts, Laura said, studying the display. They're faster than we expected. Kate was examining an old weapons station. Most of our missile systems are dead, but the energy grid is still functional. We could power up the laser defenses with some work. Daniel turned to Zillith. We need more time, and we need access to your Federation technology. Back on the main Federation ship, Susan had prepared a meeting room. Human military specialists sat on one side of a large table, Federation scientists and engineers on the other. The tension in the room was thick. Eric spread out diagrams of Federation shields and engines. Your technology is impressive, but too passive. You focused on defense, not offense. A Federation engineer named Grell, whose body resembled a tall insect, clicked his mandibles nervously. Our species have evolved beyond the need for weapons of war. Kate laughed. That's great until someone like the Varaxians comes along who hasn't evolved beyond wanting your stuff. Laura studied the star charts showing Varaxian fleet movements. They're using a standard attack formation. Predictable. That gives us an advantage. Daniel stood at the head of the table. Here's what we're going to do. Eric, take a team and modify 3 Federation ships with human weapon designs. Kate, I want you to reactivate Earth's orbital defense grid. Laura, develop a battle strategy that will surprise these Varaxians. The humans moved with purpose, their energy filling the room. Federation crew members watched in amazement as the humans worked tirelessly, sleeping only a few hours each night. On the 3rd day, Ambassador Zillith found Daniel alone on the viewing deck, watching Earth rotate below. You work differently than any species I have ever seen, Zillith said. So focused, so driven. Daniel didn't look away from Earth. We've always been good at war, Ambassador. It's peace we struggle with. The Council is worried, Zillith admitted. They fear what will happen after this conflict if you succeed. Now Daniel turned to face him. They're afraid we won't go back to sleep. Will you? Daniel's face was calm but determined. Would you, if you were us? 300 years of your life taken away, woken up only when needed as weapons. Zillith had no answer. A sudden alarm blared through the ship. Susan's hologram appeared. Varaxian warships have entered the inner solar system. They've bypassed Jupiter's moons and are heading straight for Earth. Daniel's expression didn't change. Tell Laura to prepare her tactical team. Tell Eric to launch the modified ships. He looked once more at Earth, then back at Silith. It's time to show the galaxy why everyone was so afraid of waking the humans. The 3 modified Federation ships moved into position near Mars. They looked strange now, with added weapon systems that Eric and his team had built using old human designs and new Federation materials. Laura led from the first ship, her voice calm as she gave orders. Remember the plan. Let them think we're weak. Let them come to us. On the main Federation vessel, Daniel watched the monitors with Kate and several nervous alien officials. The Varaxian fleet was impressive. 20 large warships with hundreds of smaller fighters. Their gray hulls gleamed with red markings as they moved steadily toward Earth. They're not even trying to hide, Kate said. They think this will be easy. The lead Varaxian ship sent a transmission. On the screen appeared Commander Vox, tall, gray-skinned, with red eyes and sharp teeth. His voice was deep and scratchy. Federation ship, this is Commander Vox of the Varaxian Empire. Surrender Earth to us, and we will allow your vessel to leave the system unharmed. Daniel stepped forward where Vox could see him. This is Commander Daniel Blackwood of Earth. We're not going anywhere. Vox's red eyes widened in surprise. A human. Awake. He turned to someone off-screen. They broke their own rule. Then back to Daniel. It changes nothing. Your sleeping race will be eliminated today. The transmission ended. Daniel looked at Kate. Now we find out if your modifications work. The Varaxian fleet accelerated toward Mars, where Laura's 3 ships waited. The aliens on the Federation vessel held their breath. They had never seen humans fight before. The Varaxian ships fired first, red energy beams cutting through space toward Laura's small force. At the last second, the human-modified shields flickered blue, absorbing the attack. Now, Laura ordered. Her 3 ships split apart, moving in a pattern the Varaxians had never seen before. They fired strange weapons, not energy beams, but clouds of tiny metal particles that spread out in space. What are they doing? Ambassador Zilith asked, confused. Kate smiled. Old human trick. Shrapnel field. Makes their fancy targeting systems useless. On the screens, they watched as the Varaxian ships tried to navigate through the clouds of metal particles. Their shields flickered as thousands of tiny impacts wore them down. When they tried to fire, their energy beams scattered through the metal clouds, becoming harmless. Laura's ships used the confusion to dart close to the larger Varaxian vessels, placing small devices on their hulls before pulling away. Magnetic pulse bombs, Kate explained. 3, 2, 1. The devices detonated simultaneously, not with fire or explosion, but with waves of energy that made the Varaxian ships go dark. Their engines died. Their weapons stopped working. How? Zilith asked in amazement. Your weapons are so primitive compared to theirs. Sometimes old and simple beats new and complicated, Daniel said. They expected energy weapons and fancy shields. We gave them nuts and bolts and magnets. But the battle wasn't over. The Varaxian commander was clever. His flagship avoided the trap and continued toward Earth with 5 other ships. Commander, Susan's hologram appeared. The defense platform is ready. Daniel nodded. Kate, light it up. Around Earth, orbital platforms that had been silent for centuries came to life. Laser arrays powered up, their energy gathered from the sun over hundreds of years, now ready to fire. As the Varaxian ships entered Earth orbit, the platforms fired simultaneously. Beams of concentrated light sliced through 3 enemy vessels before they could react. The others scattered, trying to avoid the deadly fire. On his flagship, Commander Vox raged at his crew. How is this possible? They are supposed to be a sleeping, primitive species. The view screen on his ship lit up, showing Daniel's face. You made a mistake, Commander Vox. You thought because we were asleep, we were helpless. You thought because our technology is older, it's weaker. Daniel's blue eyes were cold. But there's something you should know about humans. A warning alarm sounded on Vox's ship as more human-modified vessels appeared behind them, cutting off their escape. We're at our most dangerous when we're fighting for our survival, Daniel finished. The trap closed around the remaining Varaxian ships. Commander Vox was brought onto the Federation ship in energy restraints. His gray skin looked pale, and his red eyes burned with anger as Daniel and Ambassador Zillith entered the holding room. You fight without honor, Vox spat, using tricks and traps instead of facing us directly. Daniel sat down across from the alien commander. We fight to win. Honor doesn't mean much if your people are dead. The rest of the Varaxian fleet will come, Vox warned. This was only our first attack force. Our empire spans a third of the galaxy now. Zillith's forehands trembled slightly. He speaks the truth, Commander Blackwood. We have reports of more Varaxian ships gathering. Daniel leaned forward. Tell me about this ancient technology your people found, the one that made you so powerful. Vox smiled, showing sharp teeth. Why should I tell you anything? Because I'm curious why you're so afraid of humans. Your fleet came straight to Earth, bypassing easier Federation targets. The Varaxian commander was silent for a moment. Then he laughed, a harsh, unpleasant sound. The technology we found, it was human. Zillith gasped. Daniel's face showed no emotion. Impossible, Zillith said. Humans never left their solar system before the sleep. Not these humans, Vox explained. An earlier cycle. The galaxy is very old, Ambassador. Species rise and fall. Humans have been here before, long ago. We found their ruins, their machines, their weapons. Your Federation knew this. That's why they put you to sleep. Daniel looked at Zillith. Is this true? The ambassador's skin changed color rapidly. Some ancient records suggest a humanoid species once controlled this region of space, long before the Federation existed. But we never knew for certain they were human. Daniel stood up abruptly and left the room. He found Laura and the others waiting outside. We need to wake more humans, he said. Not just soldiers, scientists, engineers, historians. We need to understand what's really happening here. Susan's hologram appeared. The Council has already authorized waking an additional 500 humans based on your initial success against the Varaxians. The next few days passed in a blur of activity. More sleep pods opened in the underground facility. Confused humans were briefed on the situation. Some reacted with fear, others with fascination or anger. Eric led a team examining the captured Varaxian ships. Their technology is strange, he reported to Daniel. Advanced in some ways, primitive in others. Like they're using tools they don't fully understand. Kate had been working with a group of newly awakened engineers. We've modified 6 more Federation ships with our weapon designs, and we've started production on smaller fighter craft in the old factories in North America. Daniel nodded, impressed by how quickly humans had adapted. And the defense grid. Fully operational, Kate said proudly. We can protect Earth now. Laura entered the command center with a serious expression. We just received a message from the edge of the solar system. A much larger Varaxian force is coming. At least 100 ships. Daniel wasn't surprised. How long? 1 week. Maybe less. Ambassador Zillith and the other Federation representatives looked worried. We should request reinforcements from the Federation, Zillith suggested. Daniel shook his head. There's no time. And from what I've seen, your ships wouldn't help much anyway. He turned to Susan. We need to wake more humans. Susan's hologram flickered. How many? All of them. The room went silent. Commander, Zillith said carefully, there are millions of humans in stasis. The Council only authorize. I don't care what your Council authorized, Daniel interrupted. This is no longer just about defending Earth from one attack. The Varaxians have been using old human technology to conquer a third of the galaxy. We need to understand what we're really fighting." He looked around at the aliens and humans in the room. "This isn't just a battle anymore. It's a war for survival. And I want my people awake for it." No one argued with him. They had all seen what just 50 humans could do. The thought of millions was both thrilling and terrifying. In orbit around Earth, the first truly human ships in 3 centuries were taking shape, built with a combination of old human designs and new Federation materials. They looked unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The sleeping giant was not just awake. It was getting ready to fight back. Earth was waking up. Across the planet, sleep facilities hummed with activity as millions of humans opened their eyes for the first time in 3 centuries. Cities that had been silent were filling with voices again. Lights glowed in buildings that had been dark for generations. From orbit, Daniel watched his planet come alive. The look on his face was a mix of pride and worry. "It's a beautiful sight," said Laura, joining him at the viewing window. "And a dangerous one," Daniel replied. "The Federation is terrified of what we're doing." Ambassador Zillith had indeed been sending urgent messages to the Council. The decision to wake all humans had not been approved. But there was little the Federation could do now. Humans were taking control of their own fate. On the command ship, Eric burst into the meeting room, where Daniel, Laura, and Kate were discussing strategy. "We found something," he said, his eyes wide with excitement. "In the old archives, records from before the sleep that were hidden from the Federation." He placed a small device on the table. It projected images of space, star maps, and strange structures floating among distant planets. "Our ancestors were farther into space than we were told," Eric explained. "They found ruins, ancient technology, but they also found warnings." Kate leaned closer to the images. "Warnings about what?" "About the dangers of using the technology without understanding it. Our ancestors decided to stop exploration, to focus on fixing Earth's problems first. That's one reason they agreed to the sleep." Daniel studied the star maps carefully. "These locations, many of them are now in Varaxian territory." "Exactly," said Eric. "The Varaxians found what our ancestors left behind, but they ignored the warnings." Susan's hologram appeared. "Commander, the Varaxian fleet has entered the outer solar system. 98 ships confirmed." Daniel stood up. "It's time. Launch our fleet." From Earth's orbit, 300 ships moved out to meet the Varaxian force. They were smaller than the enemy vessels, but faster, more agile. Many had been Federation ships just days ago, now transformed by human engineers. Laura took command of the lead ship. Daniel stayed in orbit to coordinate the defense of Earth itself. Kate had prepared special weapons for the coming battle. As the 2 fleets approached each other near Jupiter's orbit, the Varaxians sent a transmission. It wasn't Commander Vox this time, but a different Varaxian. Taller, with darker gray skin and larger red eyes. "I am High Commander Nex of the Varaxian Empire. You hold our commander prisoner. You resist the inevitable. Your primitive species cannot hope to defeat us." Daniel responded calmly. "This is Commander Blackwood of Earth. We have no quarrel with your empire. Leave our system, and there can be peace between us." Nex laughed. "Peace? Your kind doesn't understand peace. We found your old ruins. We know what humans are capable of. The galaxy will be safer with your species eliminated." The transmission ended. Daniel turned to Kate. "They're afraid of us, of what we might become." "They should be," Kate said with a grim smile. The battle began with the Varaxians firing first, just as they had before. But this time, the human fleet didn't try to absorb the attack. Instead, the ships split apart, moving in patterns that seemed random but were carefully planned by Laura. The Varaxians couldn't target them effectively. Their large ships were designed for power, not speed. The human vessels darted between them, firing weapons that disrupted their engines and shields rather than trying to destroy them outright. From his captured cell, Commander Vox watched the battle on a small screen. His expression changed from confidence to worry to fear as he saw the human strategy unfold. "You don't understand what you're facing," he said quietly to the Federation guard watching him. "Humans don't fight like other species. They don't think like other species." In space, a group of Varaxian ships clustered together for protection. Laura saw the opportunity and gave the order. 10 human ships released clouds of tiny robots, each no bigger than an insect, that attached to the Varaxian hulls and began cutting through their armor. Another group of human ships, led by Kate, fired strange weapons that didn't damage the Varaxian vessels, but disrupted the crew inside, making them confused and disoriented. High Commander Nex watched in growing horror as his orderly attack turned into chaos. The humans weren't fighting by any rules he understood. They weren't trying to match strength with strength. They were turning his own fleet against itself. And behind this first wave of human ships, more were coming. Earth was fully awake now, and its entire industrial capacity was focused on one goal: survival. The battle lasted 3 days. When it was over, the once mighty Varaxian fleet was in ruins. Damaged ships drifted in space. Those that could still fly were retreating, sending urgent messages back to their empire. On the Federation command ship, Daniel met with Ambassador Zillith and the council members who had traveled to Earth to see the situation for themselves. The aliens looked at him with a mixture of fear, respect, and wonder. "You defeated a force 3 times your size," said Elder Moba, her ancient eyes wide. "No Federation species could have done this." Daniel nodded. "We had advantages. We were fighting for our home. And we think differently than you do. Or than the Varaxians do," added Laura, who had just returned from the battle. Her uniform was wrinkled from 3 days without sleep, but her eyes were alert. Eric and Kate joined them, bringing star maps and data from the captured Varaxian ships. Eric pointed to several locations deep in Varaxian territory. "These are the sites where they found the ancient technology, the ruins of what might have been human settlements from thousands of years ago." Kate added, "And this is why they're so afraid of us. They think if we reach our full potential, we'll take back everything they've built with our old technology." The council members looked troubled. One of them, a tall being made of what looked like crystal, spoke in a musical voice. "What will you do now, Commander Blackwood? Your people are awake. Your ships are armed. The Federation's greatest fear has come true." Daniel looked out the viewing window at Earth, now bright with lights from awakened cities. "That depends on you. We want to join the galaxy as equals, not as weapons to be used when needed and put away when feared." Ambassador Zillith's 4 hands made a gesture of acceptance. "The Council has already voted. Earth will be granted full membership in the Federation, with all rights and protections. And responsibilities," added Elder Moba. "Of course," Daniel agreed. "We will help defend the Federation against the Varaxians, but not by conquering them, by showing them a better way forward." Susan's hologram appeared. "We're receiving a transmission from the Varaxian homeworld. It's not from their military. It's from their civilian leadership." A new face appeared on the screen. A female Varaxian with lighter gray skin and orange eyes instead of red. Her voice was softer than Commander Vox's or High Commander Nex. "I am Grand Minister Tala of the Varaxian people. We wish to discuss terms of peace." Daniel's eyebrows rose in surprise. That was fast. Later, as human and Federation ships patrolled the space around Earth, Daniel met with Laura, Eric, and Kate in a quiet room overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors they hadn't seen in 300 years. "What do you think happened?" Laura asked. "Why did the Varaxians ask for peace so quickly?" "They saw how we fight," said Kate. "We could have destroyed their ships, but we disabled them instead. We showed strength and mercy, 2 things they didn't expect." Eric nodded. "And their civilian government probably wasn't happy about their military starting a war based on fear of what we might do, rather than what we actually did." Daniel looked out at the sunset. 300 years ago, humanity nearly destroyed itself. The sleep gave us a chance to start over, to be better. He turned to his friends. The Varaxians found our old technology, but not our old wisdom. Maybe we can teach them both. On the other side of the galaxy, the Federation Council chamber was in session. Many members were still nervous about humans being awake and active in the galaxy again, but others saw new possibilities. Humans think differently, Ambassador Zillith told the Council. They see problems in ways we cannot. The Varaxian threat would have destroyed us without their help. Elder Moba's ancient voice silenced the chamber. For thousands of years, the galaxy feared what humans might become. We put them to sleep because we were afraid. Now we must learn to live with them as partners, not as weapons or threats. As the Council debated, new human ships were leaving Earth, heading out to explore the stars. After 3 centuries of sleep, humanity was fully awake, curious, and ready to take its place in the galaxy. And across the stars, a new unspoken rule was spreading. Never underestimate the humans.